looking at Jun from OGN.
A legendary caster here in Korea. Has been at it for 15 years, one of the best in the business.
Welcome to Korea. Quarterfinal is now standing. Wow, where are we? Yeah, this is Busan, Mexico. Hello everyone. 진심으로 반갑습니다. 여러분의 성원에 진심으로 감사드립니다. 전 세계 LOL 팬의 관심을 한 번 받고 있는 LOL 2014 월 챔피언십이 대만 싱가포르를 거쳐서 드디어 이곳 부산 팩스코에서 쿼터 파이널을 펼치겠습니다. 자, 지금부터 경기를 펼칠 8개 팀 어떤 모습 될지 소개해드리도록 하겠습니다. First up from China, Edward Davis. 그리고 로얄 클럽. 마지막으로 OMG. Next from North America, Team Solomon. Finally, from Korea, Samsung Vice. Samsung Blue. Last, 나재 셰프. 자, 이렇게 8개 팀이 펼치는 쿼터 파이널. 지금부터 쿼터 파이널 신나게 한번 달려보도록 하겠습니다. Let the World Championship begin. 월챔 8강 대결을 시작하겠습니다.
Hello everyone and welcome. It's hard to follow June, but my name is Trevor Quickshot Henry, and the road to the Summoners Cup has led us to Busan, Korea, where 8 teams remain and will continue to compete for the title of World Champions. Our analyst desk has followed the action, and joining me in Busan are, of course, Mitch Crepo Forceballs from the Evil Geniuses, CLG's Peter Doublelift Ping, OGN caster Christopher Monte Cristo Michaels, and of course from the North American LCS, David Freak Turley. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. Every minute of action from this knockout stage will be brought to you in concert with our 24 broadcast partners, streaming in 16 different languages. Also here are the LPL team who are covering the action for our Chinese audience, and for everyone watching right there in Korea, our partners from OnGameNet are on hand. Rounding out the LCS team, we also have Shocks, who will be getting the inside story straight from the players as they come off the Rift. And finally, our trio of casters for the evening, Riv, Deficio, and Jat, getting set to bring you the play-by-play in our first quarter-final series. Now, our first showdown of the knockout phase is Korea's own Samsung White, who will look to continue their undefeated performance against the #1 seed from North America, Team Solo Mid. This is a team that is making their 4th straight appearance at Worlds. Looking ahead to the rest of the week, tomorrow we will see the #1 seed from Group C, which is Samsung Blue, face off against returning Worlds challenger Cloud9. Then on day 3, it's a battle of the LPL as Starhorn Rail Club challenge fellow Chinese team Edward Gaming. And we'll conclude the week with Korean squad Najin White Shield versus China's OMG. As always, you can head over to lolesports.com and vote for who you think will win the series this week. Click on schedule, give your pick the thumbs up to who you feel will win. Thank you, Crepo. But if it's real-time action you're looking for, check out watch.lolesports.com. There you can enjoy the games in the language of your choice, as well as with real-time stats and Twitter commentary from the pros. While you're there, head over to Twitter and then share how you and your friends are watching the action out of Korea. Once again, we are asking you guys, how do you Worlds? Do send your photos with us at LOL Esports and use that hashtag Worlds. Make it good, and you might just see your viewing party later on in our broadcast, and I'm looking forward to it. Right now, gentlemen, let's turn our attention to the main event. It is our first quarterfinal showdown between Samsung White and Team Solo Mid. Samsung White, they turned in a dominating performance in the group stage, the only squad to have that 6-0 record. And Monty, you know, talk to me about the team. Is it everything they lived up for?
Well, it's hard to live up to more. Like you said, undefeated records, KDA leaders in 4 out of the 5 positions on this team, fastest average game time, under 29 minutes, just by a hair, 1 second. In 6 games, they've only lost 5 towers and 5 dragons. You can see that first blood in nearly all their games as well. This is a team on a hot streak. They've been on a tear. Yeah, they had a weaker group, relatively speaking, but their performance has been complete and dominant.
But I don't think it's worth understating that they had such a weak group. EDG was the only real competition for them, let's be honest. HQ and Dark Passage really didn't put up a fight, and EDG was underperforming. So really, these numbers that they're putting up, it kind of, they are a very strong team, yes, but it's kind of skewed in their direction.
However, all the other Korean teams were destined to do so well in their groups as well, and they didn't show up. They showed up, but they didn't show up to the extent that White did. White played as immaculate as you can expect them, but you can't expect more, really, until you get to see these matches coming.
Well, I absolutely agree. I think all the teams who were in the group stages did show up to a certain extent, but as you talked about, Crepo, the amount Samsung White showed up was incredible. I want to give you a couple of stat lines here. Imp and Mata in the bottom lane are by far the best bot lane in this tournament, and Samsung White as a team are so darn good early game. The stat we like to give for early dominance is your minion kill lead at 10 minutes. Samsung White's bottom lane is first place in that, and they're more than double the lead of the 2nd best bottom lane of this tournament. They're absolutely crushing early on. The one thing that TSM has, to their credit, is Bjergsen in the mid lane. He's actually lane dominant as well. He has the highest disparity at 20 minutes. That said, though, Pawn from Samsung Blue is 2nd. So there's not exactly a big disparity there is the problem.
Doublelift, we're on the preview show, we were talking about Team Solo Mid, and this is the first time that they're going to face a Korean squad in the World Championships. You, in particular, highlighted Bjergsen as a point that they can look to help carry them. Is that the only chance TSM has in the series?
Yeah, I'll be completely honest. Darius versus Looper, I expect that to be a very farm-oriented matchup. They're just going to look to make TP plays off of pretty much everyone else playing aggressively to begin with. Wild Turtle and Lustboy will get absolutely crushed by Impinmata. There's no question in my mind. And Dandy's the best jungler from Korea, so Amazing really has no chance there. I think Bjergsen is the only hope that TSM has.
The only saving grace for TSM right now is the fact that they actually have a lot of experiences in longer matches like best of fives already. Of course, their opposition is going to have the exact same thing, Mani. I see you're nodding your head there. But, I mean, in their defense, they've played a lot of best of fives and they don't really go on tilt there. We saw that in the playoffs as well. Yeah, they dropped a lot of matches they shouldn't have dropped, but they still fought back valiantly and just kept going back to their best game. Hopefully, that'll be at least show them a fight against White here.
I think you're being really optimistic. And yeah, we can talk about TSM, but anything we talk about TSM, it's Samsung White has more experience or does it better. We talk about best of fives. Samsung White in best of fives has only lost in 5 seasons to SK Telecom K and Samsung Blue. And they've also, because they've always placed top 3, played the maximum amount of best of fives possible per season. You want to talk about a team that has best of 5 experience, it's this one.
Well, we'll have to see. They've lost to 2 teams, right? I mean, there's a chance.
God's bleed, right?
Let's get to predictions. Let's get to predictions. And remind everybody who is the desk predicting to win this series. Crepo, with all the excitement behind you, who's it going to be and why?
Yeah, I'm not going to postpone this too much longer. I vote for White 3-0. I hope TSM can take a game, but as Monty said, everything they do, everybody, like, White does better.
Monte Cristo.
I mean, I got to take it, man. It's going to be Samsung White here, 3-0. I don't really see a way besides some epic cheese that TSM can take a game.
It would take a miracle, a godsend for TSM to win a single game against Samsung White. I'm taking Samsung White 3-0, 100%.
And finally, Freak.
I don't think miracle for a single game is... I think it's maybe a little bit of hyperbole here. Certainly Samsung White are big favorites. I do think the likely result is 3-0. But it's sports. Upsets happen when a team shows up. Like, it's a sport. Upsets can happen, but I think it is very likely to be Samsung White.
All right, so we've heard what the analysts say. I want to see what the fans on LOLesports.com are saying. They are calling this series for Samsung White with a narrow 51% of the vote. And that's TSM not winning a public fan poll. That is impressive. That is almost magical. And that sound means it's time for the Prophet to reveal his pick. Although he hasn't made the trip with us to Korea, the divine picks of Team Dignitas jungler Alberto Crumbs Renhefo continue here in the quarterfinals. In his last 8 predictions from the analyst desk, he's correctly picked 7 games and was the only one to pick 4 upsets correctly in the group stage 2. There is an irony. The Prophet actually had the lowest total correct predictions overall out of all of our games.
Who is number 1, Trevor? Who was number 1?
Number 2.
This is his moment.
This guy's a fraud.
This is his moment.
We're here for the games, not
Let's
for the
get the prediction. In this matchup, the Prophet is also siding with the analysts. He's picking Samsung White. Guys, we're going to send this over to the triple cast to get us into the game. Samsung White look like the team to beat, but that doesn't mean that they are taking Bjergsen and the rest of TSM lightly.
한국에 있다고 딱히 부담이 된다거나 뭐 한국 팀을 상대한다고 해서 한국에서 한국 팀을 상대한다고 해서 딱히 부담된다거나 그런 건 없고 저희 팀이 원래 팬층이 좀 없는 팀이라서 한국에서도 왠지 TSM 팬이 더 많을까봐 좀 걱정되긴 하네요.
Everyone of the best is like top tier there.
비역슨이 아마 좀 뛰어난 선수라고 생각해서 미드를 좀 저격해야 될 것 같아요. 비역슨 선수가 북점파로 불리고 있긴 한데 한국에서 제가 페이커 선수를 몇 번 잡았으니까 북점파인 비역슨 선수도 이번에 몇 번 잡을 수도 있을 것 같아요.
I think their work ethic is really good, and like their structure, their coaches, they just have everything they need to succeed.
저는 원래 그냥 입전 전승했을 때 그냥 낮은 실드나 삼성블루도 똑같이 할 줄 알고 별로 안 기뻤는데 경기하는 거 보니까 좀 자부심을 가져도 될 것 같아요.
They're like way up here. You know, they're like, there's everyone else and there's Samsung White.
Hello everyone, I am Rivington Bison III, and manning the caster desk with me are Joshua Jat Leesman and Martin DeFisho Lungen. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, man. We're finally in Korea here for World Championship. It's time for the bracket stage.
Yeah, and it's time for probably one of the biggest games we're going to get here. If TSM can manage to upset Samsung White, it's going to be huge for League of Legends and NA.
That's the big one. According to the analyst desk, this one is kind of titled, I can do anything you can do better for Samsung White. So we'll actually see if that's the way it turns out. Let's get the game rolling with a look at the starting lineups. On the blue side, it is going to be Samsung White to start it off. That means it will be Looper in the top lane, Dandy roaming around in the jungle, Pawn in mid lane, Imp at AD carry, and Mata as his support.
And on the red side, of course, it is North America's team solo mid. Dyrus in the top lane, amazing in the jungle. Mid lane right there is Bjergsen and Wild Turtle and Lust Boy on AD carry and support respectively.
That's right, and for this series, we will be paying special attention to the mid lane for our featured matchup, Pawn versus Bjergsen, guys.
Yeah, and obviously Pawn is the new mid laner still for Samsung White. He joined when Dade had to switch over to Samsung Blue. Right. First World Championship. He's not even been in an OGN final yet, and he's always talking about how he wants to get to the final here. But him against Bjergsen is going to be such a crucial matchup. He's actually a very safe laner, but he can play every single champion he wants to. It just depends on what the team likes him to play.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Pawn played so many assassins in the group stage. Bjergsen may not know exactly what to expect. But as you say, Bjergsen is kind of the great hope for Team Solomon in this series. If he could somehow put his team on his back, that's one of the only ways TSM finds an upset.
It'll be working in his favor. This whole tournament has been mid-lane, mid-game focused, and what a way to come out with our featured matchup in the mid lane here. We have the Faker Killer, as many saying, his team actually saying, is it Faker on our team when they were beating SKT1K? It's going to be absolutely amazing, and TSM is going to have to step up.
Yeah, and let's not understate how loud it actually is in here. There's going to be a lot of pressure on these guys. Think of the expectations that are happening for White right now. If they win, it's expected.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
The only thing that can happen for them is disappointment. Everyone expects them to win, which is crazy in a sense, because it's been a very long time since they've actually come first place in a tournament. Way back into the spring of 2013 champions was the last time they won. They've always been winning the quarterfinal stage because they always make it past that, but it's just disappointment from here on out.
And to come in as the favorite with that too, there's a little bit of that. It's going to be really harsh if they don't perform as well from the community.
Of course, and TSM, no pressure at all. If they win one game right here, everyone's going to praise them and say, that was beautiful, you played really well. Sorry, White was the better team, but you did your job, you did what you could do here. So there's no pressure on TSM to perform.
Yeah, but with that being said, pretty much everything that White can plan generally will come out in their favor. Every scenario we run with any first ban by either team seems like White ends up coming out ahead.
In this first band coming out, we saw Bjergsen playing it very well in the group stages. Wasn't a main throughout the season, but that Orianna was definitely putting down some numbers.
Yes, and this right here is hitting a comfort pick, and Orianna always comes around doing World Championship because she's such a safe pick. She's strong all around, like all through the entire game, and that's why it's such a safe pick for Bjergsen, and that's also why you can ban it away.
Yeah, but when you think of Bjergsen, you don't typically think of Orianna. Right. When we looked at the group stage stats, it's actually the champion he found substantially the most success on. 7-2 and 21 in 2 games was his overall scoreline. However, Syndra, we think, is one of his more prominent champions if they want to find success.
Basically, TSM is going to need some mid-game power here if they want to be able to beat Samsung White. Take a lead in the early game, go into the mid-game, be stronger, and close out the game before White gets a chance, because the late game for TSM in the past with the shot calling has been a problem which White can punish them for.
Yeah, I also thought Rise was going to be a huge priority coming into this one, which is why it's very wise of White to first pick it away. But what they were able to accomplish, I feel like, is they didn't give away any major picks by first picking it, which is something I felt like TSM would have to force in Champ Select to have a better chance.
And that's going to be a big story in this game here, especially looking at the junglers. What are we going to see banned? What are we going to see first pick by either Dandy or Amazing? Lee Sin was banned. It's by far Amazing's best champion. He played it 5 times in group stage out of 6 games. And suddenly, Car 6 is open for him, sure, but Dandy can still play Jarv and he can still play Rengar as his pick he didn't show yet.
Let us not forget how good Dandy's Rengar
is the best in the world.
In conjunction with his lanes, who are able to keep them pushed to just the right level so that the Rengar ganks are always a threat. It just goes Elise anyway.
It is completely a synergy that they have, but they do go for Elise Seeing that was only one of two that Amazing was also picking up with his Lee Sin. This is going to be his first Kazakhs game coming in here on the world stage. We'll see how he performs on that. And Mata gets his Thresh to be making the plays in that bot lane, which is definitely another focus of this game.
And I really hope Wild Turtle is going to play something like Illusion in this game here. Maybe a Corki pick for him. I need some mid-game power spike AD carries for TSM to focus the bottom lane, try and shut down Imp and Mata in the laning phase. You have ganks, you can have roams, you have teleport from top lane. Get a lead on your AD carry, use it in the mid-game.
And that will be a huge key for TSM if they could try and get that mid-game. However, I look at the composition that Samsung White is putting together so far, and it seems like they have all the utility picks covered right now. You look at the Thresh and Elise, they can play both ways, frontline or backline. If they get a slight lead, they would be able to adapt to any situation TSM tries to throw at them.
TSM is really falling back to a comp which we have seen from them a lot of times already, but where they normally run a hyper carry with it. You have Lulu top lane, you have Gianna as the support, you have a lot of disengage, and it's all built around your AD carry now in the late game. And that's actually where Lucian might become a problem, because he does the kill it,
and he did it.
Finally the Jace.
All right, a little bit of backstory here. Jace is something that so many mid laners have talked about breaking out forever. They just never seem to have the right moment for it. Pawn, however, is one of the best Jaces who's actually brought it out in some big-time games.
And Pawn has played a different champion now in every game of Worlds that he has played, still continuing with Jace.
It just shows how Samsung White in the group stages didn't want to show anything other than, hey, we have a massive champion pool. We can win on all these different champions. We know he's Jace from Korea. In OG, he's been killing Faker one-on-one with this Jace pick as well. He is extremely good at playing it. And Samsung White, notice how much single target CC they have to set up the burst damage from a Jace and a Twitch. Thresh with Hook coming in, you have Cocoon coming in, you have the Rune Prism from Ryze. Samsung White can catch out TSM so easily and just burst down a target within a few seconds with both Twitch and Jace here.
Yeah, and obviously we see the Zed coming out from Bjergsen. When he has played Zed so far, it hasn't worked out that well. However, that was when he picked it blind. So he did not know the matchup he was going into. This matchup against Jace, in fact, a lot of the lanes for TSM have the potential to win early, which was actually going to be one of the few win conditions TSM would have, is if they could somehow crush the laning phase hard enough that Samsung White could never make it into team fights. With the pick of Twitch for Samsung White, that's a very surprising one, because it does put them slightly vulnerable in lane.
So obviously Twitch is one of IM's main champions, and again, what Samsung White will normally do when they play Twitch is actually lane swap, and because you have the Ryze against Lulu matchup as well, I would expect White to lane swap here, because you don't want to have Lulu against Ryze. It's heavily in favor of Lulu early on. Ryze will outscale her. Go for the lane swap here, save lane for Twitch, and then once Imp picks up his blade, he can start roaming around.
And what do we see about our featured matchup now? Jace versus Zed, not something we normally see in the mid lane.
Yeah, I actually feel like that matchup, especially early on, and at level 6 mostly, would favor Bjergsen a little bit, but obviously it kind of comes down to Dandy and Amazing. We know how good Dandy is at working with Pawn's lane.
And we were talking a little bit about Amazing. Will he try to focus something, or will he just trying to be dodging Dandy as he flies through the jungle? As we kick off game one, we do want to remind everyone to go the distance with us over on Twitter. Keep sending in those votes for the team you think will come out on top. Tweet hashtag SSW win or hashtag TSM win. And we'll be checking back periodically to see where the fan vote is standing.
And I really want to see how TSM wants to play this game here in the early game. Are we going to see a lot of focus on helping Wild Turtle do well, or will they instead look on to see just try and win every single lane by themselves?
Well, yeah, and how White's lanes are going to play in general here. Listen to that crowd, though.
It's going to be a ridiculously hard task. We've actually already heard the TSM chants coming out, almost drowning us out during the pregame there. But this is a Korean team on home soil. TSM yet to beat that. And they are ready to go. In the best of 5, let alone. They have to go the long haul, something that Korean teams practice in regularly.
And this matchup in mid lane, we just quickly talked about it before.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that Pawn actually decided to get Exhaust as his summon as well, it's going to make it very hard for Bjergsen to all in him, and that's heavily in favor of the Jace pick, because you can poke from range so much.
Yeah, it also makes team fighting really difficult for Bjergsen in the late game. Sometimes you can bait out one exhaust in a team fight again. Getting rid of 2 of them is a wee bit harder there. And it will really, really mean that TSM has to pull ahead in the early game.
Yeah, And just a small little funny thing about the mid lane, because Zed now appears behind his target on Jace, Jace can actually knock him away like he used to be able to and can't deny him a lot of the damage. Instead, though, Bjergsen should be able to get the damage here. As long as Dandy isn't there, he should be fine.
Well, the early game here is going to start off quite quiet. Nobody really wants to get themselves into too much danger, but that doesn't mean they're going to not go for the late invade on this one. You can see that Dyrus and Amazing are kind of the buddy system up by Wraiths, and that bottom half covered by Pawn.
It's actually pretty impressive where Samsung White have gotten their wards as of now. Some pretty deep positions, and that's somewhat required for trying to force an early lane swap.
Yep, they are going to try and get into this one a little sneaky style, but we'll see if they can actually grab all of these. See if Amazing is put off and they can get a 3-buff start here.
Yeah, so what TSM is doing, even though they probably know Samsung White wants to lane swap top, you don't want to give up the bottom lane advantage, so you want to send your stronger bottom lane down there. You have the Dragon. Problem is, they
TSM
didn't go in and try and check the red buff, even though they should have expected this lane swap.
They got 3-buffed.
Yeah,
super hard. It should never happen in this situation, just based on the fact that there's Twitch. You have to expect the Twitch top lane, you have to expect the invade, and if TSM needs to start on a buff, they need to start on the red buff of Samsung White, which they did not do.
And the thing is, you could actually see they knew, because they started running in there like, oh, we're actually too late now. So they knew they had to go there, just didn't react in time. Small advantage for White here.
And the pressure is on. The minions falling in front of Bjergsen, getting hardly any of those first waves. 9-6. He should be all right as he tries to go toe-to-toe with Pawn in the mid lane. Does not want to go down solo, and that is definitely an option for Pawn to get at with that exhaust on him. We'll see what they can keep doing. Dyrus is going to try to be with Amazing on the bottom side of the jungle. See if they can keep themselves safe here.
Yeah, I honestly feel like TSM's already on the back foot a little bit.
Yep.
You can tell Dyrus and Amazing are looking for things to do in a jungle that's really already been cleared, and unless they're willing to fast push that turret, they're just giving easy farm to him. They have no pressure on that side of the map.
No, but what they're basically doing is just stay down here in case Looper shows up in the bottom lane, and then they can dive in 4 people. Even if Mata joins, it's going to be 4 versus 2 in favor of TSM. So you see both AD carries, they're not freezing the lanes. You don't really do that as often anymore. It's a lot more focus on pushing in to the tower. Make sure you deny farm and experience from the enemy top laner. And if he shows up, you're on the bottom side of the map to dive him. Notice how they're already pinging on Looper.
Here's the strangest thing, though. I see Imp wasn't even freezing that top lane. He's already pushed up the turret. In normal circumstances, that's actually Q for the TSM top laner to go up there and get the experience of the turret. Yet Dyrus is still level 1, and he's recalling on some of the spectacular wards from Samsung White.
Yeah, so the reason Dyrus actually didn't go top lane was because he didn't know if Samsung White had 4 members on the top side. He was waiting to see their reaction. As soon as he spotted Looper bottom lane, he now knows he can actually get to top lane.
Mata with the grab onto Lust Boy. He's going to be forced to walk back through the aggression, but Turtle is there to provide some safety. The mismatches and mismoves here by Team Solo Mid, like you said, Jet, definitely put him behind. There's a lot of game to go as the gold is still leading.
It's ridiculous right now what has happened. Look at the top lane discrepancy. Dyrus has 0 CS. Looper's finished his tier. That is not even close. The fact that Looper was able to get his tier during the lane swap before Dyrus gets a CS is really one-sided.
TSM had all the members on the bottom side hoping to get a dive on Samsung White if Looper showed up, but because Mata joined, because Dandy was nearby, they couldn't do it. And suddenly, the risk they took, it backfired completely, and now Dyrus has lost a lot of farm in the top lane.
And this is one of the things that is a big struggle for TSM, especially in the lane swaps, would be the team-wide communication. It's not a weakness that has really shown its ugly head lately, but it's something that used to be a big deal for TSM. Dyrus needs to be able to fend for himself, and the team needs to be able to fend for Dyrus, which has not happened early on in this match.
And that weakness is something that Samsung White latches onto. The quickest games in their group, it's because they don't play with their food. They go for seconds, they go for thirds. Yeah, arguably the weakest group, but they made the #1 Chinese team look pretty average throughout that group as well, so they know what they're doing.
I mean, just looking back to when they're playing Korea, I mean, they're the team who has the highest amount of kills in their wins compared to everyone else, because once they get the lead, they are so good at just snowballing it completely and never give you a chance to come back. Dyrus has the flash.
Yeah, and you can bet your bottom dollar that Dandy will be back to that lane, and they're going to continue to keep Dyrus down. They've exposed an early vulnerability right here and expect some substantial punishment towards Dyrus.
One of the things we also see is Samsung White does have some of the least wards placed, but that's because they get them so deep in. They're so efficiently placed. Yeah, it might be the shortest games, but they just crush down in the most efficient spots, so you don't have to actually put down as many in that early game.
I mean, look at the wards they have now. They've already covered the side of the map with which they want to attack.
Right.
That's actually something that White did a little bit in the group stage that probably we won't see here in the quarterfinals, is they made some moves in places where they did not have vision because they were playing a little bit fast and loose. They're going to clean up their game for this match against TSM, most likely.
Yeah, normally when we see them play, they pre-plan their moves a lot, so now they have the deep wards here. They can go for the red buff when it spawns soon. Imp, just keep trading with Dyrus here. The important part for Dyrus, however, is the fact he's getting experience in this top lane.
Thing that TSM has to remember is there's really nothing to lose when these fights start to break out. They gotta try their hardest to make it happen. See if that can really come from something in the top lane. We know that Looper can make the plays individually. Can Dyrus get on that teleport level as well?
Yeah, well, the short answer is probably not.
Right.
As far as Dyrus being able to match Looper's teleport. But the long answer is that the longer this period of inactivity lasts for Samsung White, the higher their percentage chance of winning this game. The composition that White picked here was actually incredibly high risk. They picked a weak Twitch lane, they picked two solo laners that rely on Tear of the Goddess. So the only thing they want to do in the early game is go even. The fact that they're actually up 300 to 400 gold with experience and level advantages in multiple lanes bodes incredibly well for them for the rest of this game.
Yeah, and you see the way they decide to handle this early game because they know they have to get this Rise out of his weaker mid-game, we can say, into the late game. What they just did right here was as soon as Imp saw Dyrus use teleport in the top lane, he started recalling and went down bottom lane. And then Luba could just teleport top lane, pick up the entire wave, which was just pushed into the tower because he still had the teleport left. And Dyrus is now forced to go back, fall even further behind in farm. So they're investing so much gold and experience into this Rise pick here. Look how far ahead Lupa is compared to Dyrus. He's such a good teleport.
1,200 gold in his pocket right now that he's just sitting on. It's 400 gold overall above Dyrus, but those items are completed for him, and Dyrus is still trying to stack rings to stay alive in that lane, so he's not towards his items at all.
What White has done so far is definitely very impressive, and you can see now that the lanes have swapped back, they're kind of through their period of total weakness. The only vulnerability that White has right now would be the fact that Wild Turtle did farm up that BF sword against just the Cutlass of Imp, but combined with all the other edges, it's really just been quite a great first 9 minutes for White here in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, but TSM right now, you just talked about how AD carry items is a difference. They should be able to pressure this bottom lane now. Punish him for the fact that Samsung White decided to swap to standard lanes to give Looper time up in his top lane to be one-on-one as well. They need to put pressure on this bottom lane here and shut down Imp while Wild Turtle is a lot stronger at this point. You see the way Imp is playing as well. Go in, try and last it, back away. You cannot trade with Lucian at this point.
White playing it very smart right now with the slight lead that they have. Something that TSM can hold on to very well when they get it, but it does not come very easily for them, especially in that early game. See if Imp can get all this farm right in front of the turret as the rest of the team stays safe, stacking it up. We see that mid lane focus of Pawn versus Bjergsen. Pawn comes out, all the long swords to keep dishing out the damage, and Bjergsen's trying to match as he builds up his Brutalizer.
Mata just throwing back the Lantern here to make TSM think there's a jungler, so they back away here, give him a bit more time to farm, and playing a few mind games, because if he does that a few times and the jungler never shows up, the third or fourth time he's going to do it, suddenly the jungler is there.
And that's one thing that Samsung White does so well, is none of the lanes are telling. Even if Dandy is around, there's always a chance that he is in that brush.
Yeah, and it's always a bad sign when Mata has the freedom to throw his shield back for nothing, because that means he's not getting harassed. And they're not actually eating that shield for fights. So TSM is still playing this laning phase, honestly a little bit scared. At this point in the game, they should be trying to find ways to take control of the Dragon area. However, they've waited 12 minutes, they allowed Imp to be in the top lane, and they never pressured an early Dragon, which is normally one of the rewards you get to reap early on in a laning phase.
Yeah, especially because, again, you have the pressure in the bottom lane. In mid lane, you have kill potential because Zed has Cutlass as his first item, so his all-in potential is great. Amazing could join in. As long as they know where Dandy is on the map, they could try and go for some ganks here, but he's just been sitting back and farming, like we often see on Kha'Zix, where Elise is strong on the early game, and therefore TSM has just been playing it very safe.
And we just saw previously Pawn jumping onto Bjergsen, really punishing the use of his abilities to farm. Bjergsen just walked away from that instance, didn't get an auto attack in, didn't throw his blades out with a Q. He's timing his attacks well. The reason a Pawn is just a menace in that mid lane.
And that's one of the things about Jace in mid lane. You don't have to necessarily destroy your lane and kill people. You can get your tier early.
Tier stacking. That's all he's doing right now.
Stack up your tier slowly. Be ready for the first dragon fight instead. You don't need to bully your own lane. So they're just going fairly even in farm here, but this tier is going to stack up faster and faster, and suddenly Jace is going to become super strong. Going in towards this mid game where we're going to get the poke wars.
And it's definitely going to go to mid game, maybe even late game, because the mobility hadn't really started yet. I mean, up until that last back a few seconds ago for TSM, no one on their entire team had boots. They weren't going to be moving around and trying to make plays, which plays right into the hands of Samsung White if they're just going to sit in lanes and allow these Tier of the Goddesses to stack up. Now, with that being said, it's because White is doing great things to eliminate TSM's options. The lane swap at the start, the Sightstone rush by Dandy to flood the map with wards is just making it so that TSM did walk somewhere, it would be spotted and actually be an inefficient move for TSM. But right now, everything is in the favor of Samsung White.
Looper realizing he has the upper hand in that consistently defensive lane in the top, and now he starts to go a little bit aggressive. Dyrus is definitely having some trouble. We saw his Lulu play at a 1-1-9, so he may be getting teleporting. Oh, here comes the teleport from Looper. This is the action that the Samsung White can create. Looper comes down immediately when the team engages.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be wanting to go for Dragon right here, but this would be TSM's chance to collapse on a team. They haven't really scaled up yet. They're still sitting on those tiers. They get this Dragon, it's an even bigger win. They just get it.
Completely pre-planned.
No reaction at all.
Dyrus isn't pushing super hard. He isn't teleporting. TSM had to burn flashes away. They didn't necessarily have vision control, and they weren't willing to engage in a fight that quickly. So that's not good for TSM. That's great for Samsung White.
So what we just saw here as well from Looper was instant teleport down. As soon as there was any chance of any action, he's going to teleport down because he knows even if he doesn't get a kill, he can go towards the dragon here. There was no reaction from Dyrus at all. Had he teleported down instantly as well, TSM should have been able to contest this dragon.
He may be known as a quiet guy, but actions speak louder than words in a lot of cases, and Looper makes that happen with the teleport. Been from one Worlds to another, and right now they're laying it down as one of the best here at Worlds, and a favorite. Pawn picking up blue buff, that is going to help him continuously harass. He's already on the Manuin in the mid lane.
Now there is a teleport advantage for TSM right now, because Dyrus still has his up, but there's no dragon to go for, so instead, he's gonna have to try and go for a play down towards this bottom side of the map if they want to try and get an advantage from the teleport.
Teleport advantages actually have to be towards objectives. And at the moment, they can't really do things. Every lane is still posturing defensively for Samsung White. They try to do a bottom lane, Mata can Lantern Imp away. Maybe they try for a teleport play mid lane, but that would only come off of Samsung White aggression and be used as a counter-engage tactic. So at the moment, everything is being dictated by Samsung White. They have better vision control. They're actually invading into the pink wards, and 14 to 15 minutes into the game, probably for the next 10 minutes or so, is actually when TSM should be stronger. So at the moment, they're trading turrets. That's not the worst thing in the world. TSM, though, they have to do something.
Yes, and again, I know you obviously want to get a dragon from your teleport, but you can also send Dyrus down to a different lane and apply pressure and teleport top lane if he needs to defend it here. But while Turtle in his bottom lane, we talked about how Lucian was a lot stronger.
It's a good push for TSM.
At this point, he's really getting some pressure on this side and getting a tower.
Look at that CS advantage. 30 CS over the top of Imp. He will do his Infinity Edge rush as well. But at the moment, Imp has that Blade of the Ruin kick.
Yeah, so that's the trade Samsung White decided to do when they sent Looper top lane to get all this farm here. Fight in mid lane.
Amazing, getting hit up pretty hard. He does get hooked in, but the rest of the team is there. This could be Dandy going down. First blood going to Team Solomon, but White has acted on this as well. A great flash over from Lustboy, but that could feed Dade, or Pawn rather, exactly what he wants. Bjergsen's going to get knocked away. Oh, does he finalize the kill? The Ignite's there. The exhaust lasted so long. Mata with a godlike hook from over the wall to save Pawn's rear.
right in the jungle right there. Pawn juked Bjergsen. It turned a 2-for-1 into, well, turned a 2-for-2 into a 2-for-1. And the one team fight the TSM blew their teleport advantage on falls in the favor of White.
Yeah, Lupa just joined the fight instantly himself. Even without the teleport there, he was down towards this bottom side. And then the exhaust from Jace was perfect onto Zed.
They'd already killed the top turret. There was no reason for him to go back top lane. Dyrus was freezing. It's not like he teleported from a point of pressure. But yeah, let's take another look at this one.
So the jump in here on Dandy, they actually have a lot of members from TSM because they know they have to teleport. But they're not expecting Lupa to join in at this point. As soon as he comes in, it's actually 5 versus 5.
And here's the thing. This is actually exactly what Bjergsen wanted. He wanted the flank pawn when he went for the fight. Obviously, the exhaust was super critical, but this play by Pawn right here, in the brush, I don't know where Bjergsen was going there. Just the wrong direction, trying to finish off Pawn. He had no vision in the brush. He just guessed the wrong side, I suppose.
Yeah, by that point as well, you can't really get out. I mean, either you try and go and trade 1-for-1.
Well, that's absolutely what he was
exactly.
trying to do.
Yeah. If you start running away here, they're going to catch you anyway and kill you.
Well, great plays all around. We see how fast Samsung White can collapse on Team Solo Mid, trying to make plays in the jungle. Now that that side of the jungle is littered with wards, we'll see where the teams decide to go. Safety there for TSM. They may be able to get in. Amazing can try to hinder Dandy's jungle, who actually haven't seen too much play from. We usually know him for counter ganking, or counter jungling rather, and trying to get in the other jungler's face.
But the idea from Team Solo Mid, it wasn't bad because they knew they had to teleport. They were expecting to be 5 versus 4. They had the wards in the jungle, so it was a good idea. But because Lupa had already recalled from top lane and he knew what's going to happen, they actually ended up also losing a bot tower for it.
So 17 minutes in, that about 1,000 gold lead still stands. It's been closed down a little bit. 2-1 in turrets.
Time for TSM to try and make a play. Looper is a pretty hard person to die.
Oh, this is not what can happen when you're going for these dives. Lustboy goes down.
And one step ahead is kind of the story of this game. Now Imp is also in assassination mode, so both sides of the map are winning for White.
Entire game long, Dyrus has basically been sitting in a lane trying to farm because he's been behind, but he's not been able to do anything. Imp has been able to bully him. Lupa in the top lane did the same. And up here in this top side, there's already wards placed by Samsung White. They saw it coming a mile away.
Oh, history's starting to repeat itself. White gets a bit of a lead, and they start to just continue rolling that on. Imp fearlessly going between that bottom lane, or actually going after Dyrus, I should say. The turret was already down, but those turrets being down as well, we hear White did not lose a lot of turrets throughout the group stages. No. Now TSM's trying to get the better of that.
Yeah, with the lane swapping is the main reason that TSM was able to pick up those turrets, and honestly, at this point in the game, the gold is still somewhat close. However, the tiers are very close to being completed. The stacking is almost there for White, where it will become a level in which TSM cannot win a fight. At the moment, White is trying to poke them off the Dragon Pit. Imp, though, exposed himself because he has backup.
Oh, Bjergsen trying to get out of this one. The poison can take him down, but the Wild Growth is a save there. Retribution kill on each side. They get 1 and 1, and they're going to back off.
But count the ultimates right here. Amazing actually gets him pretty low. Here's the fight.
Amazing out of this one. He's already done what he can. He tries to get back in. A great monsoon from Lustboy. Dyrus is still alive. So many low health bars, and they're able to finish off Dandy there, as well as Amazing. The junglers are out. On to Lustboy as Mata locks in another one and brings the team over for another kill.
Yeah, so many ultis was used in the start of the fight, killing Imp in here. So once Samsung White joined in, re-engaged against Team Solo Mid, they were just a stronger team. They managed to get the picks here once again. We do have to highlight the fact that Imp is a player who will constantly play aggressive, and that was a good job by Bjergsen to actually try and punish him for overextending a little bit. Sadly for him, the team was ready to join in.
And Looper's going to be an unstoppable force pretty soon. 303 on Raz already. Take another look at this one. It is remarkable to me, actually, how despite TSM having the Janna, who is meant to split the enemy team up, TSM is the team that's always more split up, and White is always the team that seems to be together. Every time TSM thinks they have a kill, it's White that has the backup. Every time White thinks they have a kill, it's an isolated member of TSM that falls prey. Look at Amazing. Look at the rest of TSM. All of White are staying together. Lustboy, again, split up from the rest of the team. And Bjergsen all alone.
Fighting once again. He's almost forced to go in on this one, dealing a bit of damage, and he does take that alt shadow back to the juke, keeping himself safe. White's moving down for Dragon now, and with that ult being down from Bjergsen, it's going to be a lot easier and a lot less pressure to go for this objective.
Yeah, this should be a very easy Dragon for Samsung White. You have every single ulti ready on their side. Martin will get his very soon, and when you have no ulti in your Z, you don't really want to fight here. But with the combo Team Solo Mid is using, What they can do is they can put Bjergsen in a side lane to split push, and then you have 4 members, Wild Turtle, Lost Boy, Amazing, and Dyrus together to siege down towers here. Samsung White won't allow it.
Now, I would agree under normal circumstances that, yeah, 21 minutes into the game is exactly when he wants Zed to split push, but Looper will just kill him at this point if he tries to do that. It's the easiest answer possible because not only can Rise win the 1v1, he will also have a teleport threat if he goes to answer.
For sure, and that just shows how Samsung White played the early game really well. They got the Rise hit. That was why they invested so much gold and time into Loop on this Rise, because he was going to be the guy stopping Bjergsen in the split push. But that was just very smart play from the start of the game. Sacrifice Imp a little bit, get your top lane ahead instead.
An almost dark, completely dark top side of the map where Bjergsen goes to farm. He definitely would have met up with Pawn. That featured matchup, not going too bad for those two, a 2-0-3 to a 1-1-0, but they farmed it out quite well in the mid lane. It's when Pawn, now the game opens up, that he really starts to exceed.
And once we get a last Whisper on Bjergsen, he might actually be able to, he should actually be able to kill Looper one-on-one, and then we can see the remaining members siege down, because when you have a Lucian, you have to make plays in the mid game, you have to be aggressive, you have to force fights on turrets, fast push them down, you have to Janna with the shield, and you have disengage on both Lulu and Janna, of course.
Still the 3,000 gold lead. Obviously TSM needs to try and make a lot of plays, but it's not their style to play risky when behind. Actually, when we were looking at the OGN regular season, which is group stage, combined with their playoff stage, and then all the LCS regular season, as well as playoffs for North America, when Samsung White wins, we mentioned earlier that they actually have the biggest kill discrepancy in victories, meaning they're incredibly good at just crushing an opponent once they get an edge. 14.5 more kills than opponents in victories. You look at TSM, they had the fewest death discrepancies and losses. They only lose by 6.3 kills every time they lose. So like when they're behind, they kind of prefer to get bled out than to try and make a really daring play to try and come back, which means that even though we said this was like a risky strategy for White to pick these late game scaling champions, it's kind of an inevitability if they're able to get slightly ahead of TSM that it will drag late and White would win by default.
A lot of pressure on the turret is drawing out these ultimates. We just saw it happen with Bjergsen. Turtle gets caught way too close to this one. Wild Growth comes out again, and 2 ults to not even save the turret goes down. White, again, going to run amok in the jungle and get what they want out of this.
Yeah, Samsung White didn't actually want to overextend here and just pile every single member onto Wild Turtle. Imp, he's looking for Bjergsen.
This could be the lockdown. Mata tried for the flay back, giving enough time for Bjergsen to use his shadow to get out safely, but they have exactly what they need set up before they even get there. The top wave is where they wanted it. They're going to be able to go after the top turret as well.
And even before they started the siege in mid lane, they walked into the jungle of TSM, placed a lot of deep wards, knowing once we take mid tower, we're gonna rotate top lane. We have already slow pushed the wave, and we just walk straight up there. We spot them in the jungle, we get them low, we force flashes. Amazing, he's dead.
You could not be too close to Mata's hook. It is heat-seeking right now. 7-3, only 24 minutes in, and I guess it doesn't matter what team they're playing against. They will start to bring out the coffins and lock those up. Nailing another one there on Amazing, and they back off with another turret.
That play in particular was amazing, just taking a sloppy route through the jungle, and TSM cannot be sloppy against a team of Samsung White's caliber. He had to jump away from the Twitch, which just made him a sitting duck for Mata's death sentence.
And just look at the minimap. I mean, all the wards from Samsung White, because they make a place on the top side of the map, they focus all the wards there. And then they go back, buy new pink wards, and you can start moving them around the map. Dragon is spawning in 1 minute 45 seconds. Okay, if we want to pick it up, we start setting up wards around this dragon now. We are ready in time. We're ready way earlier than Team Solo mid. And once they come in to try and face check us, we have so much single target CC and burst. We just lock them down, pick up another kill, take the dragon.
With those wards, they're getting everything they want, really being the only one to destroy their own pink wards because they have the ability to place them farther in TSM's jungle once again. 25 on this one, 1 minute and 20 on the dragon. See how if TSM can get the pressure onto this. Great item spikes across the board, obviously at 25 minutes in, but can they be used? Static shift just coming out for Turtle, far behind a finished Ghost Blade on him. And he is looking, actually they're pretty even in gold right now, so could be a good fight, at least for the AD carries. It's all about Looper and Dyrus to get the teleport right on this one.
And all of these wards towards this bottom side so early. I mean, the Dragon is still not up yet. 55 seconds. It's fun when you talk to the teams who play these Korean teams like Samsung White. They always say, okay, if you walk down 1 minute before Dragon to place wards, never mind, they already got full control. You try 1 minute 30 seconds, they're already there. They're already there. They're always faster than the other team.
Dyrus gets hooked that time. Wild Growth again used in defense. It's not been in aggression yet, along with the team are amazing jumping in. Bjergsen is split pushing top, but he may be needed in this bot lane.
And that right there is an example of White being one step ahead. Again, you think that you need to ward the blue buff first before you move into the Dragon. Wrong. You need to ward outside your base here against White. And now we're doing a split push war, but the inhibitor from TSM, it's going down.
It's going down, but they know they can't stop this push anyway here, so they just want to get some gold.
You're going to see Bjergsen still doing what he can. This is an inhibitor down.
Oh,
they have a great wave.
Yeah.
They know they cannot fight this. Dyrus does not have that ulti. He just used it. He goes down. Is this really happening? 26 minutes in. He catches on to amazing as well. Samsung White getting everything they want here inside TSM space, and a Nexus turret is going to go down 26-30 in. They are not stopping.
It's a late game comp, but if they win this early, it's even better.
What an amazing use of the late game comp. Every hook, like I said, heat-seeking coming out of Mata. What can they ban? What can they do? TSM has to think about game 2 already. 27 minutes in, the double kill for him. 12-3, and game 1 is over in favor of Samsung White.
And wow, such a great game by Samsung White. There's no mistakes right here. And if you make a single mistake, they will punish you. They will take your entire base as well. TSM tried to trade. They just wanted to get some gold, and suddenly White just pushed all the way in.
One trade they didn't want to take, and that's the thing. When you're trying to turtle against a 5-man push like that, you cannot get caught.
No.
As soon as they were in hook range, Mata was able to just get the hooks, and of course the game is over right there. Here's the thing, though. That was a game that TSM was going to lose anyway.
Yes. I 100% agree.
It wasn't expected to be that abrupt.
It was, I mean, go all the way back to level 1. The lane swap, heavily in favor of Samsung White, put so much focus on Looper as well. And as soon as they started grouping up, had the wards pre-planned, had them set up, start picking off TSM. When you play Zed and you fall behind, you feel so useless, because there's nothing you can ever do. If you ever jump in, they're going all 5 just going to kill you, and you can't even start split pushing because they can just run in 5 people and kill the rest of your team like we just saw.
And what does Team Solo Mid do now? They're seeing different champions in the mid lane. They need to shut down, but the lane they're hoping can pick everything up for them.
So one thing I thought was going to be a big deal coming into this series was Dyrus' champion pool and potentially being able to pick Ryze. Maybe they can do that in game 2. The second thing is the complete lack of control of Dandy that they displayed there. Dandy, we all know, is the playmaker for them. They were not able to do any of their intended goals against Samsung White there.
And they have to be more aggressive in the way they play. When they have an advantage somewhere on the map, they have to use it. Don't play it safe. It doesn't matter. If you play it safe right here, you get to a point in the game where you will start making mistakes and they will punish you. You have to play aggressive early on when you have the advantage. The bottom lane could have been a big point for TSM where Wild Turtle was doing well. They didn't use it. In the end, Samsung White just punished them.
Play aggressive against Samsung White. I know it's easier said than done, but
we're sitting here talking, obviously. We're not even in the game.
Well, they got TSM on the back foot early. We'll see if it changes around for game 2. Right now, we're going to throw it over to the analyst desk for a breakdown of Samsung White's win.
Thank you very much, guys. We're just about to break down this game. And of course, I think a little bit as expected. Team Solo Mid coming away very poorly after that lane swap. I want to talk about some of the decisions that Samsung White had because their team composition seemed to work out. And Crepo and Monty, I mean, what was your thoughts on how TSM handled it and what Samsung White did right?
I think I like what Samsung White did initially. They wanted to lane swap away from TSM, and they combined that with a beautiful level 1 play. Teams in best of 5s tend to be very passive a lot of the times at the start. White just combined their lane swap with an invade, and they 3-buffed them, and then they went into lane swap, Andy.
I mean, it's just the lane swap is so strong when you have, when you're trying to avoid that Lulu harass on Ryze and you're trying to just scale Twitch to where he gets Blade and he can roam around and create picks in the mid game. Like, they just got everything they wanted. And then TSM also kind of failed on the lane swap as well. and it was a train wreck.
Especially level 1, if you look at vision, you should always have vision of at least 2 buffs, whether it be your own 2 buffs or 2 of the enemy buffs, preferably 3 on opposite sides of the map so you can roughly pinpoint where people are starting. TSM had vision on 1 buff, then realized they were in the process of getting 3 buffed and ran to the red buff, but by that time, Danny was already done and the jungle was compromised. And it went downhill from there.
Yeah, right. And to expand on that too, if we just talk about the lane swap itself, what happened was we had Imp pushing in on the 3rd wave, whereas Wild Turtle was reacting and then pressing in on the 4th wave of the game, and that created an opportunity because they didn't go for Dragon on the bottom side, that basically Looper got a wave and a half of experience that Dyrus didn't, and then from there, the Rise is just going to win.
1 second quickly before we carry this on. Freak, hold your point. Let's pull up a graphic that we've got of the 2 team compositions and just talk a little bit more about these champions as well, because the lane swaps is definitely one of the big deciding factors. But how Samsung White played their comp with that Jace, with the Rise, if we can pull that up onto your screens. Bjergsen playing his signature Zed, 2nd time this tournament, and it didn't work out for him. It really didn't. Freak.
So I want to first start by talking about the bans, because before picks, the bans actually happened. And what I liked was that Samsung White did it correctly in that they target banned. They banned champions that specific members of TSM were very good at, removed the Orianna away, the Lee Sin from Amazing, the Rumble away from Dyrus, whereas TSM banned the very standard things. Oh, the Zill and the Alice or the Maokai. Like, no one's surprised by this, which means there's nothing left up that's special for TSM. There's no high priority first round red side picks really left, and so they squandered that opportunity in the first place.
Yeah, what I just want to highlight is that Dyrus was forced into Lulu, a champion that has about like a 30% win rate in this prior to this game, 3 and 8 in total in the tournament, and he was basically forced to play that champion. And yeah, it didn't work out.
Let's talk a little bit about the team comps too, because it really makes it very clear. Yeah, it was relatively close in the early game, but being close in the early game is exactly what White wants with this team comp. They have 2 tier-dependent champions in Rise and Jace. These are champions that want to scale till about 23 minutes when the Muramana, when the Seraph's Embrace come in, and that's when all hell breaks loose, and that's what we saw. And we look at TSM's comp. Very centered around attack damage, especially since we did see that Dyrus was shut down early, so he didn't have a lot of high damage items. Made it very easy for everybody to just buy a Chain Vest. Meanwhile, balance of damage, you had the AD on the AD carry on Twitch and Jace, and then you had Elise and Rise rounding out the magic damage. Just I think a much better comp for.
We're running into the replay here. Double, if we haven't heard from you yet, let's pull the replay up onto your screen. Talk me through the replay as well as your thoughts on this particular matchup. You know, we did see First Blood going the way of TSM, but it didn't really work out their way.
Yeah, so right here, TSM's doing the right thing. They're actually doing a really great thing. They're looking for a pick with TP advantage. They see, okay, Looper doesn't have TP, we have TP top lane, even though Dyrus is behind. You can play the replay right now. Danny actually face checks into this ward, and he's in a really bad spot. So TSM has the upper hand right here. The TP comes in, and then they're like, oh wait, what are we doing? Rise is coming. We have no idea where Rise is. They should be pinging back. Like, somebody can show up right here at any moment, and it's Looper. And he's going to come in here, and he's just going to clean up. Lustboy has no chance of living this situation. He actually shouldn't have flashed. If he saved flash for the next fight, he might have actually lived. And then right here, Bjergsen should just know, the best case scenario here is trading 1-for-1. The worst case is that he dies without even killing Pawn, which is exactly what happens. So somehow, just miraculously, Samsung White takes this situation that they have no control in and turned it into a 2-for-1.
Now, I do have to give some props to Mata. I don't think he missed a single hook win in the face of Team Solo Mid. We are running out of time. Freak, do you have any closing thoughts on the matchup? We haven't heard too much from your side.
I wanted to talk really briefly about what the comps were intending to do. TSM, I think, did a smart thing. They were very focused on Bjergsen winning the game. He's on split push Zed. The other 4 members are good at defending a turret. Janna, Lulu, Lucian, Kha'Zix, all these guys are wave clears, very smart. What I loved about the Samsung White comp, though, is they are so good at sieging, and they have 2 guys, at least, who can pick people off defending. So a 5v4 with a bunch of long-range engage tools says you can defend turrets, but you can't defend yourselves, and everyone on TSM dies.
What I don't like about TSM's comp, though, if you go for the double supportive top laner support combo in Janna and Lulu, you need a hyper carry, you need something that scales better than Lucian, or you really need to bust up in that early game and win it hard, and
it did, yeah, I completely agree. Well, it's very obvious that we're all very excited at the desk, guys. There are still plenty more games to be played. When we return, it is Game 2 of Team Solo Mid versus Samsung White live from Busan. As we head to a break, the World Championship has given our audience an opportunity to become fans of players from every region. So who is your legend?
Got that one.
에이콘 스피릿
4대
메테오스 와이드 타틀 톤
와츠, 러블링, 산,
LPGGM 고릴라
루퍼,
고고잉 라메인 제파 티키 톤
제로,
콜스
어메이징, 레몬네이션,
콜라 기억스
기억스,
기억스
크로우, 마타, 쿨, 인섹, 임,
유
유지야,
클리어 러브
댄디,
Lost boy.
러스트 보이
러스보이,